Hello, and welcome to What Moves Us, the podcast where we ask what moves us, or more accurately, what's going to move us in future.
We look at debates, themes, and decisions of the minute that will impact on the way we get about in the future.
Hi, I'm Deb Carson, and I am Head of Initiatives at the Rail Innovation Group.
Hi, Deb. It reminds me that we actually need to add you to the intro because the bit of sound people have just heard only includes Johanna and myself. But now we need to include you as a frequent presenter. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, actually. Yes, thank you. Quite a nice run up to the end of the year. Lots of interesting things happening in the rail sector. New government, everyone's starting to settle into what's possible. Obviously, a lot of my work's on high-speed rail, so we were happy to see that the tunnelling to Euston was in Rachel Reeves' last budget in October. And yes, generally, I am looking forward to Christmas and, all of that.
Well, we do have, very excitingly, an interview with Jesper Westerberg coming up, who is from our newest member, Predge. He's the Chief Product Officer. So I believe that we're going to talk to him in a minute. But just before we do, I think also on the line is Johanna, who I think is on a bus on the way to the airport. Is she?
Yeah, I am on a bus on the way to the airport.
Because we are both today travelling across to, I'm going via Madrid, but to Zaragoza for Rail Live, where we will be this week.
And I'm going via Barcelona.
Right. Well, glamorous lifestyles that we lead on the Rail Innovation Group. I am going to be remaining in Rochester. That's Rochester in Kent, not Rochester in anywhere else in the world. So yes, I will be here in the gritty reality of the UK.
Well, what's also you going to be doing in at Rail Live, Liam?
I am emceeing, presenting the Dragon's Den session tomorrow afternoon, where we have 3 startups coming to do their pitch, I guess, to a panel of judges. And then I'm chairing a panel on using AI in infrastructure on Wednesday. So we will hear all about that, I guess, on the next pod.
Exciting.
And yourself, what are you doing?
I'm chairing or moderating 2 panels, one on climate resilience and the other one on digital twins and building information model, which is really, really interesting. I love digital twins because I did one at HQ.
Excellent. What's that? They both all sounds very good. So we need to perhaps have a separate podcast about how was Rail Live when you're both back.
It's interesting to go to a conference this late in the year. That's obviously, this is sort of the last one before we then focus on Christmas socials and the next year coming up. But it feels a bit of a relief getting through another year of rail and that our industry still exists and might be in a slightly more stable place than it was at the start of the year.
Yes.
New government and actually tunnels confirmed to Euston. I don't believe we've confirmed a station, but we've confirmed there's tunnels.
Yes, exactly. Well, it's still one small step, as they say. In the meantime, also, I should say that I am in the process of finalising the next report, the last report of the year in our Small Voices series, which is looking at the skills capabilities from within RIG members. So that is kind of imminently to be published. And it's an exciting little report that we will be launching before the end of the year.
Well, I guess also the skills base of the RIG members is ever expanding as we get more and more members.
Exactly.
Now on that, shall we go to our interview with our newest member?
Yes, let's do it.
So Jesper, tell us about yourself.
Yes, so I'm the Chief Product Officer at Predge, where I worked for the last 10 years. So I was kind of new when the company was started. I have a background within software, so railway was not something I worked with a long time, but I can get into that through the perspective of Predge, obviously. And Predge as a company, we work within predictive maintenance. So, I mean, what we essentially do is that we enable or realize predictive maintenance for our customers, and this by a technology platform, which has a lot of different algorithms or analytics features, but also our like unique process of way of working with our clients and actually implementing this, I would say.
And whereabouts is your client base at the moment?
Client base is globally, I would say, in the rolling stock sector of railway. So of course, a Swedish company, we have a lot of customers in the Nordics, but from there we have grown out through the like northern part of Europe, UK, but then also to mining industry, which is a huge business for us, into the Brazilian side and Australia as well.
Yeah, Brazilian mining trains.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell more about those later on. So you said you've been doing this about 10 years. Is this your background?
Yeah, I come here directly from school, actually. So I studied within the software side, Master of Science in Embedded Systems. But then, one thing led to another. And when this company was founded, I was doing master thesis at the university where it was started as a spin-off. And then I got into here.
Fun. So do you want to tell us more about the technology you're offering to customers?
Yeah, as I said, I think the unique thing about Predge is our like mix of competences and our way of working, as well as our technology-centered focus. But our approach is to be. You see a lot of good companies that are really good at like providing hardware or sensors to generate data, but we have taken another approach. So we want to work with all the data that's available more from the end user side. So if you're coming from the organization that are working with maintenance planning or operational maintenance questions in general, we see, okay, what's the need and what's the pain points we can solve and what data do we have availability to actually work with? So we add like different types of integrations and an analytics layer on all of these sophisticated hardware and sensors already out there and see, okay, how can we utilize relationship between them and add more like predictive part elements to the analytics of it and work with, okay, how do we actually generate value from this data in a good way instead of having like different types of silos that the end user needs to work with.
So could you share, obviously without giving any specific examples of your from your sort of clients, but can you share some examples of some sort of real life, if you like, examples of, I don't know, cost savings or efficiency improvements that your clients have experienced?
Yeah, to give one concrete example, I would say how we work with like wheel damages, for instance, which is a huge issue in the railway in certain operations. And typically the information you have in terms of maintenance planning is either the ocular assessments that you do or inspections, or you have like these safety systems when you reach like really high peak levels that the infrastructure manager provides. It's really hard to do some more, efficient maintenance planning by that. But what we have done then is that we have developed an algorithm that takes these force levels for each wheel set over time. So we don't just look at the extreme values. We look at the values over time. And by that, we can classify different type of damages. We can see, okay, do you have a flat? We can estimate the size of that flat. If you have an RCF, like shelling or spallage damage going on, we can see, okay, how fast is it progressing? How long can you stay in operation until you need to do a maintenance action? So instead of just having the ocular assessment and having the like safety systems, we provide like something you can plan your maintenance with. So you have a planning horizon and you have a little bit more understanding about the different failure modes in your fleet. So that's one concrete example. And of course, the business cases then is quite good.
Yeah.
Would you say that people, so for example, on that wheel condition, would you say it's a wider thing of do people accept your predictions?
Yeah, of course, that's up to us. In the way of working and what we have ended up with after the years. Of course, we need to build trust and confidence early on with the customer. We need to do a thorough validation so they can rely on what we are actually saying. But we work with a lot of different clients on these topics. The data is more or less kind of the same, and the damages are quite similar. So we have a lot of knowledge and experience on how the data should behave in different scenarios. So we're not starting from scratch with new customers. We have some experience that we can go into. But of course, every customer we need to build the confidence from scratch. We need to show them, okay, if we say you have a wheel flat of 55 millimeter, they need to verify that in real life, as well as, okay, if we say you can run 3,000 miles with this wheel set, of course, in some way they need to try that and see, okay, they say we can run it maybe a few more trips, and they do it, and that's how we build confidence in it.
And that's, I guess, partly to do with all of the discussions that are taking place more widely in the sort of policy area, not just in rail, but everywhere else, about artificial intelligence, machine learning, how that plays a role in kind of, solutions going forward. So it's linked to that, those kind of wider discussions, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. And I mean, it's not like we have some sort of black box to just say things. We try to always educate and tell. I mean, there's no major secrets when we can say, okay, why is it acting like it does? Why do we think you can run this distance? Of course, we can tune it a little bit early on to make it work the way they want, because everyone does not have the same maintenance strategy they want to enable. But it's a lot of education as well to make them understand how it works, and of course for us to understand how they want it to work, because it adds. I mean, it gives them some more possibilities for this indication, how and when they want to plan the maintenance actions.
Yeah. And so how easy have you found that in terms, particularly in the rail industry and sort of existing rail systems and ways of working, which are, well, certainly in the UK, always being accused of being quite kind of, fixed, can I say politely?
No, but I think, railway in general, I would say most of the countries, especially, at least if you see to Europe, I think everyone is coming from the same type of system, heavy nationalized. You have like big dinosaurs, and from the top of the mind, everyone would say it's a kind of conservative industry. So it's hard to change the way of working. And maybe it is to some degree, but of course it's up to us as well to convince them what possibilities and opportunities there are out there, how they can work differently, and show them good business cases, have business models that are adapted to, for them to take as small risk as possible, but still for us to benefit from it. So it's, of course it's not easy. And you see a lot of big dinosaur companies that you need to convince, but also you have some more fast moving companies that are private owned that you can work with. But it tends to take a little bit of time, but it's up to us as well.
Have you found that a different proposition in different areas of the world?
Maybe in terms of the questions they are asking and what they want to focus on in terms of operation and maintenance. Let's see, take the mining industry, you have the reliability aspects, which is quite maybe extreme, and safety parts, whereas cost savings and OpEx might be more relevant for certain types of freight transport, like in Europe. I think it's even maybe not geographically per se, but also company from company, they tend to have a different focus, different questions they want to address.
Can you say anything about any kind of partnerships or collaborations that you've done or that you're thinking about that might help that?
On the topic of things taking time in railway and being kind of conservative, I think one lesson we learned early on was that rail infrastructure is kind of hard to work with. If you see our concept, we could work kind of the same for the infrastructure side, but we focus a lot on rolling stock. I would say that is partly due to that it's really tough to work on these big giant infrastructure state-owned or government companies. So we say, okay, let's focus on the more private side of rolling stock, where we can be shorter sales cycles, it's easier to promote change and such, which works better for us. And then on the infrastructure side, we say, okay, we want to work with partnerships, maybe more like bigger established companies where we can maybe be a supplier to them, but they front the customer on the other hand. So that's what we've done. We have some things going on with Vossloh, for instance, on the infrastructure side, where we are more supplier to them and they own the customer contact more.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay, so in again, going back that you've had some 10 years of experiences, what lessons have you learned over those 10 years about your own company that has helped you succeed?
Yeah, I think, of course, what we want to bring to the railway industry, these more conservative big companies, of course, that we need to be quite pragmatic in contrast to their way of working. That I think is really important. But other than that, when we started off, I think we haven't realized early on that we need to have a more modular solution and lower the threshold quite a lot. Because as I said, I mean, things take time, and we need to make it as easy as possible for the customer to actually get started and show the value to them. Because especially about predictive maintenance, it's not, I mean, the services we provide is not something that they have today and we're just replacing it. It's something they don't have today, but we need to motivate for them why they need it. And in order for them to try it out, we need to lower the threshold quite extreme for them to actually get started. And that's something we work a lot with over the years. Find a modular solution, find a business model where there need to be some incentive. They need to I mean, have some benefit early on, but also we need some benefits early on to actually get going. And also, I mean, as I described there as well, about the understanding of the customer. I mean, no organization in terms of operation and maintenance is exactly like the other. We need to find, okay, what values do they focus on? How can we deliver these values to, and then technologically and business-wise adapt to that.
Mm. And how do you see that evolving, I suppose, over the next decade, for example, in your kind of world of decision support systems?
Well, I mean, predictive maintenance in general, I would say for the coming years is that technology is more or less already out there. Of course, there will be more data coming in. There will be more ways of visualizing the data and also integrating it. But there will just be more and more components added. You will work predictively with more and more components. It will be better predictions. It will be more integrations and will be automated more. I guess that's the boring future about predictive maintenance, that it will just be more of what's already today.
Yeah, but I suppose hopefully we'll sort of fit into the broader push for digital transformation in rail, really.
Well, I guess the values that will enable it, I mean, efficiency, of course. There will be a bit more efficient transport, it will increase reliability and safety. And of that, I guess railway will become more competitive, not only by predictive maintenance, but digitalization and this innovation that goes on in general.
Yeah.
Well, Jesper, I'm curious, because some of your data sets that you're using on your rolling stock product, but because we talked about AI and sort of like asset maintenance and that, but you mentioned about using weather data as well, and given sort of like some of the issues with climate, how does your data sets help, and how does that integrate with the other data that you're bringing to improve rolling stock reliability?
I would say the weather data, I mean, it will address to different types of failure modes. I mean, they have the leaf fall season, for instance, where you have a lot of wheel sliding damages or wheel flats occurring. So that data set, of course, is relevant to the risk of certain type of failure modes increasing, as well as in the Nordics during the winter time, and we have the really cold weather and really dry. We see a lot of like certain types of wheel damages, like shelling, spalling damages, and having understanding of what the operational context of the assets, it can help us create better predictions of certain type of failure modes, and also understanding that the risk increasing. So, I mean, a prediction is always a guess, of course, but you can have some sort of risk management associated with that. And if you have, for instance, really cold weather, and the risk might change, so the guess might not be as adequate as you first thought. So when the operational context is changing, you can change the prediction a little bit.
So I guess really as a railway operator, we know that. So how does Predge sort of like make that prediction more accurate rather than just being sort of like crystal ball gazing?
I can give one concrete example. One client we worked quite a lot with is, I mean, weather data to actually change their decision making, and they, for them, it's about understanding that during certain parts of the year, in this case, it's really cold weather, a cold season, where they have like peak loads in the workshop. They can't really manage to do all of their maintenance, so they need to change their maintenance strategy a little bit, because there will be a lot of queues to the workshops. So we calculate the risks of this based on the outside temperature, and it's based on the number of damaged wagons in their fleet. And based on that, we change the algorithms to not focus on the life length of the assets, but rather focus on the reliability and availability of the assets. So maybe we take a little bit more risk and send some wagons longer in operation, and try to shunt out wagons a little bit earlier. So that's, I mean, they use it then in some way of understanding how they should act. So let's say one translate that example to the leaf fall season would be that, okay, if you have a lot of leaf fall, maybe you can reduce some maintenance activities because you know that you will probably have more maintenance activities related to sliding damages or wheel flats, for instance, and focus on those.
So in summary, in terms of sort of like, weather-related maintenance and that, it can actually lead to cost savings because you know when you need to do the maintenance, but also at the same time, it's improving your performance reliability as well.
Yeah, I mean, you would guess that during these seasons, you will have an increased portion of maintenance events. And having an understanding of that at an early stage can help you plan maybe the maintenance better and make sure you have the capacity, you have the spare parts to actually conduct the maintenance in a sufficient way.
I was going to move us on to ask you some of the more general questions that we ask our guests on the podcast. I'll ask you both questions, give you a chance to think about the answers, and then that will help us wrap up, which is, given your experience and given your work now internationally, is what would you ask of the governments in those jurisdictions that you do work? And equally, what advice would you have from someone else trying to work in those areas?
I think what would be asked from the industry or the government, I mean, you must support or enable the industry to become more competitive as a mode of transport. And I think one thing that will lead to is that you need to you need to be more efficient, which will lead you need to be a bit more innovative. And that would enable more like SME companies and maybe startups to come into the industry and actually play a major part in the change or transformation that's currently going on in railway, I would say. I think that's the major part, and exactly how that would lead to, I don't know, but
it sounds a bit like we prompted you to say that, because that's exactly what we said. He did not tell you to say that.
No, but yeah,
I refuse you did.
No, but I think I mean smaller companies like a lot of members in the rail innovation group is needed to change and transform the industry, and you just need to enable like these big players that are already there to work more with these type of companies, and of course it should be on business terms. You need to generate some sort of value. So you can't just take a decision to take in more companies. You would see, okay, what do they actually bring to the table, and innovation and changed way of working, new technology, new competences. That's what's needed in industry.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
And then your advice for a supplier?
Advice for suppliers? Oh, yeah. I need to understand that things will probably take a bit of time in the railway. But I guess, if I see companies like us, I think most companies would say that competition is not the biggest issue in the industry. So there's room for plenty more SMEs and startups coming here. But you need to be patient and understand that things will take time. But yeah, be pragmatic, lower the threshold, and I think everything will go fine.
Excellent.
Thank you. That's a good place to finish, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. Jesper, thank you very much, and we will see more of you. Thanks for listening to another episode of What Moves Us. We hope we moved you. For more episodes, you'll definitely want to subscribe to our channel.
Till next time.